Mitsubishi has just dramatically increased the number of options available in the Triton lineup because the cab chassis models have arrived. There's single cab, extra cab and dual cab models available and multiple different variants on offer too. So I'll talk you through the range in this review, tell you what's good about the Triton, tell you the best alternatives to it too, and much, much more. So let's get to it. Thanks for watching and thanks for subscribing. Let's go. There are now 18 different versions of the Triton on offer in Australia, and for this review I'm just focusing on the added cab chassis models, and I'll put the pricing for each of the different derivatives on your screen so you can see what you can expect to pay. But you want to check the Mitsubishi website and get a local quote for where you live. Now, there are plenty, like I said, 18 to choose from, but not all of them are cab chassis. So there's single cab manual 4x2 and single cab auto 4x2 in GLX, and then there's also a GLX 4x4 manual and 4x4 automatic in single cab configuration too. That model is available in 4x4 club cab, which is what Mitsubishi calls its space cab or extra cab. Also available as a dual cab too, if you want that. And the GLX grade is the base level, so it misses out on a few things. You get steel 17-inch wheels, you get halogen headlights, and while you do have keyless entry, you do not have push button start. And on the inside, you're getting a pretty work-ready design with vinyl flooring and cloth seat trim, but you do still get a 9-inch touchscreen media system and a 7-inch digital instrument cluster. There's manual air conditioning for the single cab models and climate control for the different body derivatives. Now, up from there is the GLX Plus, and the GLX Plus adds some goodies like 17-inch alloy wheels with all-terrain tyres, because it's a 4x4 only. There's a locking rear differential. You get side steps, front fog lights, a digital radio system, and black fabric upholstery with silver stitching. The model tested in this review is the GLS at about $57,500 before on-road costs. It's a dual cab 4x4 auto only, and it adds LED headlights, 18-inch wheels, heated and power adjustable side mirrors. There's also an auto dimming rear view mirror, push button start, and a wireless phone charger. And on top of the range, there is a flagship cab chassis model called the GSR. It costs just over $61,000 before on roads, and it adds heaps of great features like a different exterior look and wheels, black leather appointed interior trim with orange stitching, and electric driver's seat adjustment, as well as heated front seats. It's still pretty good for the cash, but let's talk about some alternatives because there's some really good ones. Now, if you want to save as much money as you possibly can, but you want a cab chassis ute that's got plenty of standard spec, the GWM Cannon cab chassis could be a good choice. It comes with a single cab 4x2 model or a dual cab 4x4, and it does have a whole host of great inclusions for the money. And it's a pretty reliable thing by all accounts, that Cannon ute, so it could be a very good choice if you're looking for something with a bit of longevity potential. And it does have a long warranty as well, without some of the fine print stuff that you need to consider if you're considering the Mitsubishi Triton. And another great option if you're thinking about a work-ready cab chassis ute is the Isuzu D-Max. There are 10 different versions of the D-Max available with cab chassis configuration, 4x2 and 4x4 available with the 1.9 litre or the 3 litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder engine. And look, if you're talking about reliability, Isuzu stands up pretty strong when it comes to that. And there are multiple different derivatives available. Again, no really high spec version like this, so that might rule it out for you depending on what you're after. But there's another option I want to call out, and it's because my dad's short. Essentially, I'm talking to short tradies right now because lots of these utes are much higher than they used to be because they're all the high ride configuration. But Toyota still has a 4x2 available in low ride configuration in single cab spec. So if you are looking for a work ready tradie truck that doesn't cost very much, but does come with a 2.7 litre petrol engine, not a diesel, it could be a good choice. And of course, there is a 4x2 dual cab high rider as well, and a few other derivatives in cab chassis spec with 4x4 configuration. So the Hilux stands up pretty well too. And obviously, there are plenty of great choices if you're looking for a ute, whether it's cab chassis or pickup, but have your say in the comments section below. Which one would you pick? I'd love to know. Rightio people, let's have a look at this design, shall we? I think it looks pretty good, this new generation Triton with cab chassis back end, and yeah, it's a bit more complete and a bit less divisive in terms of the rear cab part of the design than the previous gen model. Now, it is obviously dependent on which version you're picking as to the dimensions, but I'll put a guide for the dimensions on your screen now for the dual cab models. And also, it depends on which version you pick as to what payload you get too. So for this high grade model, the payload is 1194 kilos, but it does range all the way up to 1314 kilos for the base model manual 4x2, not including the tray, obviously. You have to subtract a little bit of payload for the tray that you choose, and obviously you'll have to choose a tray when you're buying this ute. But I want to also call out some of the other weight considerations for this ute on screen now. So you've got gross vehicle mass for the 4x2 models is a little bit less than the 4x4 models, and as a result of that, the gross combination mass is also a little bit less for the 4x2s as opposed to the 4x4s. But let's have a look at this particular version with this particular tray. Now, you might not spec this tray yourself, but I do think that it's a pretty nice looking aluminium setup with a nice sort of mesh window protector at the back there. You've got tie down rails on both sides. It's got these easy drop gates, so you can pretty easily get yourself into the tray if you need to. But again, it is a very high load in height, so you have to keep that in mind. If you are a shorty, you might struggle because, I mean, it sits up pretty high. And let's have a look at this rear step bumper. Now, you've got a rear step bumper there because, well, A, you've got some parking sensors. B, you've got some blind spot monitoring stuff hidden in behind there. C, it gives you a spot to sort of put your foot up and try and hoik yourself over because, as you can see, it sits a long way in from the edge of the tray. So just watch your shins, people, let me tell you. And I also want to call out this. So your reversing camera is not on center here. So you can see it there. And the tow bar is there. I'll show you some vision of the view from that camera in a sec so you can see. Yeah, it might be difficult if you're trying to hitch up a trailer. And underneath the body of the vehicle, there is a full-size spare, which is good to see. But I want to call out one other thing here. So your fuel filler cap is down there, obviously diesel, and your AdBlue cap is over there. In the standard pickup models, they're housed together, but that is not the case for the cab chassis. Interesting. If you've seen my other Mitsubishi Triton reviews, you'll know that nothing has changed in the interior here, and that's okay because it's a pretty contemporary looking and nice feeling space to sit with some pretty good design features and good practicality. So let's have a quick look through it. I'm not going to go into heaps of detail here. You've got bottle holders in the doors with some nice soft elbow pads in this grade, soft material there as well. And here you've got a dual glove box, again with a bit of softness on top. So you've got a glove box up the top there and a lockable box down there, which is a nice inclusion. And overhead you've got a set of sunglass holder businesses, and here you've got some vanity mirrors but no illumination, so you can't look your best when you show up unless you turn on the lights, and they're like halogen-y. Now let's have a look at the tech situation here. So 7-inch digital instrument cluster as part of this whole cluster here, so you still get regular dials but a 7-inch info display there. Car needs to be on for it to show you what's going on, but so there's a bit of information on screen there that you can go through. If you do want to go in and turn off some of the safety settings, you might have to go in here and muck around on the screen there. At least it's on this screen and not on that screen, but yeah, it's just something you need to get used to, I would say. Another thing I've noticed is that when you set it on cruise control, it will basically go to a different view on the screen, so it won't come up with your digital speedo when you put it on cruise control, and that can be a little bit annoying. So yeah, there's a little bit of stuff that I don't like about that, but I do like generally the usability of these controls, in particular cruise on that side and phone controls, and here you've got some volume and media controls there. That little set of lights that are flashing there, that's the driver monitoring camera system, which has been improved, thankfully. And you've got blinkers on the right side with lights there, and you've got your wipers there. Now, this screen here is not the most high-tech bit of kit, but it's fine. It's got got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it's pretty quick to react. If you do need to jump in between menus or whatever it may be, you can go back to the home screen there. You've got sat-nav as standard, as I said, which is pretty neat, and you've also got audio controls on screen. As you can see, I'm listening to This American Life, and yeah, it's fine. It's nothing overly special, but it's fine. What is kind of cool here is these controls for your climate settings. Now, it's a little bit slow to have to go all the way up. There's no like, look, you can hold it, but look how slow that goes up. And I will say that Mitsubishi's air conditioning system is pretty bloody impressive, and it might be colder than what the numbers suggest in a lot of instances, in my opinion. But you do have buttons there for your fan. Those are good because you can basically adjust things if you're wearing gloves, which is a nice thing to keep in mind for tradies especially. And you've got demister buttons there, a max cool button. If you are just too hot, you want to cool the cabin down, you can do that right there. Down below, there's a pair of USB ports, one C, one A. You've got a starter button there, rear diff lock for this grade there. Wireless phone charger is down there. And here you'll find you've got drive mode controls. So up on the screen here, it will go between normal and eco. And if you go into the 4-wheel drive modes, it goes into your off-road modes. No off-road as part of this review though. There's another little button there to set up off-roading if you want to, your hill descent system. And yeah, that's pretty good to see. And here is your dial for those 4-wheel drive controls. So the GLS comes with the Super Select 2 setup, so you can run it in high range 4-wheel drive on sealed surfaces if you need to or want to. I did it recently at the snow and it was great. And you've also got a pair of cup holders, a manual handbrakey for handbrakies, and a center console bin there. And one other thing I want to call out here, there's this air recirculator system. So it will basically draw air from the ceiling and feed it back to those in the back because there's no rear vents. But let's jump in the back. All right, so those are those recirculating fan elements. So you've got a control panel here so you can make it blow a little bit harder if you want to. And yeah, this is adjustable as well. So if you've got a little kid, you can make the air direct further down. If you're a taller occupant, you can point it at your face. And that's in lieu of having any lower vents down there. But I honestly think this is a better solution than lower vents. That's a really ingenious thing, in my opinion. Now down here, you do have a 12-volt port, some USB ports again, an A and a C, as well as some map pockets, and they're multi-pocket pockets too. So that's great to see, at least on that side. On this side, it's not. I guess that's so it doesn't piss the driver off. And here you've got another map pocket. There's bottle holders in the doors. You're still getting soft padding in this GLS grade there. That's not soft, but here you've got grab handles. Should call out, you've got a front driver's grab handle and a hoik handle on both A pillars as well, and on the B pillars too. Now let's have a look at the space, because it is a pretty generous back seat, I've got to say. This is my daughter's seat, as you can see, but one thing that really doesn't get along with my tastes is the fact that you've got a top tether strap that you have to attach through a strap to go to this little point behind the middle seat. So that is not as good as attaching it to the backboard of the vehicle, in my opinion, like you do in a Ford Ranger or a Volkswagen Amarok, for instance. You've got some flip down armrests, and I should also show you the space for someone my size. Yeah, that seat sets for my driving position. That's more space than a Ranger in terms of knee room. Toe room's a bit tight though, and headroom is actually really generous. And that air, that flow is just really quite good. In fact, backseat experience, thumbs up. All versions of the new generation Triton come with a 2.4 litre bi-turbo 4-cylinder diesel engine with 150 kilowatts and 470 newton meters. And those are class competitive for a dual cab model, but if you're looking at an entry-level 4x2, well, that is actually pretty grunty compared to some of the others out there with, well, smaller engines and less power and torque. And you can get it with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic, depending on the version that you choose. And there's rear-wheel drive for the GLX model, and you've also got Easy Select 4-wheel drive for the GLX and GLX Plus. And then there's the GLS version, which comes with Super Select 2, the Very, very handy four-wheel drive system, which allows you to drive in four-wheel drive on sealed surfaces. Nice. Now, let's go drive it and see what it's like. Okay, so what is it like to drive? Well, the cab chassis that I'm driving is not like the other versions because the GLS gets the softer set suspension. It's more about comfort, less about load capacity and ultimate durability and workability and that sort of thing. And look, it's perfectly fine. It's a pretty comfy ute, I've got to say, for a cab chassis with a tray on the back. It's certainly cushy enough, and I mean, there's a certain level of rigidity and firmness to it, but that's to be expected of a ladder frame vehicle like this. So yes, I think it's perfectly fine as a GLS cab chassis, but I'm going to reserve my judgment for when I finally get a chance to drive one of the GLX or GLX Plus models, because they have this stiff suspension designed for work duties. And when I get a chance to do a review of those, I will put a load in the back and see what it's really like. I've put a load in the back of the Triton myself in the pickup, and well, as is often the case, there was a little bit of sort of gruffness and I don't know, vibration through the transmission in particular at lower speeds that is noticeable. So if you are going to load it up with heavy loads, it might be worth keeping that in mind. And I've also towed with a dual cab pickup version of the Triton, and I didn't think it was very good. Quite frankly, I'll put some links in the description below so you can see my other Triton coverage, but I do think that for the most part, if you aren't going to ask everything of it, the Triton will be a very agreeable thing for your needs, because I've found it to be perfectly agreeable over my week of testing, which has involved the usual sort of stuff I do, urban, highway, freeway, and much, much more. But yeah, it's nice, the steering's good, it's pretty easy to judge what's going to happen when you change direction or attempt to, and also this engine is perfectly acceptable as well. Now, I do love the fact that even if you're buying one of the El Cheapo worky spec ones, you're getting the same engine. Like, you don't have to skimp and get a single turbo, lower capacity model with less power and torque. If you buy a work-ready Triton, it's going to be work-ready in terms of the engine, let me tell you. And this 6-speed auto is mostly pretty good too, I have to say. It certainly has some idiosyncrasies at times. It's quite eager to hang on to gears rather than upshift. Like, it sort of doesn't really want to make it easier for the engine, which is a bit strange at times, but at the highway speed, it does feel pretty agreeable. And I guess that's the summary of the Triton drive experience in this cab chassis. Pretty agreeable. Not bad at all, I would say. And thankfully, the active safety annoyances of the earlier versions have been fixed, because the driver monitoring camera system is now far more lenient and less likely to give you the bing bong bullshits. So that's good. And the speed sign recognition system doesn't bing and bong either, which is another nice plus. Means you don't have to turn off all the safety shit when you get back in the car. I like that about it. And I might also say that some of the comfort that comes from this ute is also from the seat. It does have really comfy seats. Great for long distance road trips. I just went to the snow in a Triton recently and no issues at all over hours and hours and hours of driving. And the fact that it was one with Super Select meant that I could put it into four-wheel drive just in case the roads got icy when I was not expecting it. Like that. Okay, there's a few different numbers to consider when it comes to the fuel consumption figures for the Triton. There's the 4x2 models, which I'll put the span of numbers on your screen, and then there's 4x4 versions, again with a fairly limited difference between the different versions. But look, those numbers are pretty impressive, I have to say, and in my real world testing, including urban, highway, freeway commuting, stop-start stuff as well, and a little bit of work, yeah, I've seen pretty good numbers. You'll see on screen what the display has shown me over my time with this ute. And again, I wasn't asking everything of it. I think that's an important consideration, because once you start to load it up or tow, it will use quite a bit more juice. It is diesel. It does have a decent sized fuel tank capacity, the numbers on your screen, and does have AdBlue as well, so you need to keep that in mind as another consumable that you'll have to budget for every now and then. The Mitsubishi Triton achieved the maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating not too long ago, and it's got a whole host of active safety tech and equipment to help you stay safe on the road. Thankfully, it's not too annoying in terms of some of those systems either. It was initially, and they've done some updates, especially to the driver monitoring camera system. And while it does still get on your nerves a bit, it's not as annoying as it once was. Now, let's talk about the other stuff you're getting. Autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. There's adaptive cruise control. There's lane keeping assistance. You've got blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert. There's also front cross traffic alert, but you have to get the dealership to switch it on for you, which is a bit weird. But there's also a reversing camera and parking sensors on the cab chassis models, but the pickup models get a surround view camera. So that might be worth considering if you're a nervous parker in particular. There's other safety stuff like trailer sway assistance, but let's talk about the airbags. There's plenty in this ute. So you've got dual front side, a front center airbag, driver's knee airbag, and also curtain airbags for the window seat occupants. So whether you're choosing a single cab or a model with a back row of seats, everyone should be covered, apart from whoever's in the middle in the back, but there's no airbags for that in any vehicle. In Australia, Mitsubishi has a 5-year 100,000k warranty, but if you do service with the brand, it can expand out to a 10-year 200,000k warranty. It just goes along every single year and will increase up to a maximum of a decade of cover. But you do have to service with Mitsubishi, as I said, and if you do, well, the cap price servicing plan, the average cost gets a little high after the 5-year mark. I'm going to show you on screen now the average price over the first 5 years, and then I'll show you what it averages out at over the total 10-year period. So you're actually sort of subsidizing your own warranty in a way, in my mind. It does get a bit pricey in terms of the maintenance costs. And this brand doesn't offer as much roadside assist as some other brands. You get 4 years of roadside assist included if you service with Mitsubishis to consider. If you're in the market for a cab chassis ute and you're not considering a Triton, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because this is a very compelling option if you are looking for a cab chassis ute, whether it's single cab, extra cab, or dual cab, because there's so many different options. And I really like the fact that you're not getting shortchanged if you buy one of the more affordable versions in terms of the engine. Same power, same torque across the range. What do you think about that? Would you pick this, or would you pick one of those alternatives I mentioned earlier? Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you when I see you.